Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Gate 7 International, your number one English source for all things Olympiacos. We're back after a 3-0 win against ARIS today at the Karaiskaki Stadium. Great response after their disappointment of the defeat against AEK at the weekend. And that is the first win of the playoffs. Martial is joining me from France, Olympiacos FR. How are you doing today, my friend?
Well, I'm doing quite well. As you said, it's the first win in those playoffs, and I think it was about time. It was really about time for the club to win one game in playoff, and it might be the game that unlock something. I want to hope in that. I want to have that hope that this game probably will unlock some things.
Well, that's the funny thing, isn't it? I think after the game against AEK on the weekend, there was obviously a lot of disappointment on the one hand, but also some hope, as Kostas Lianos said in his video reacting to the AEK game. As long as it's mathematically possible to be in the run-in for the title, then we have to exhaust all the possibilities. And that's what Olympiacos is obligated to do. Olympiacos has to try and win all the remaining games. It's not in our hands anymore. We have to wait for some slip ups. That we see the other game going on still right now. Panathinaikos versus AEK. AEK went 1-0 up. Panathinaikos turned it around in the space of 3 minutes. It's now 2-1. As far as I'm aware, we're following that live as well. And the manager certainly, he hasn't given up hope, and he can't give up hope being the manager. But yeah, it's important that we got that win. It feels like it's been a while since we've won at the Karaiskaki as well, after the loss to Panathinaikos, the loss against Maccabi as well. Aris has been a tricky side for us in recent history. They've gotten a lot of good results against bigger opposition this season as well. So I think it wasn't the perfect rebound game after the defeat to AEK at the weekend, but we did it in a fair amount of style. I thought today, 3-0 victory, clean sheet. We weren't really threatened. I think they even finished the game with 0 shots on target. Easy game the defense made it look easy, and that's a big topic of conversation after this weekend. I thought Panayotis Retsos was a somewhat of a surprise inclusion in the starting 11 today, because there was a lot of talk about possibly having Ruben Vezo come in his place, or even Biancon. Some were speculating whether Nelson Abbey might play next to David Carmo, who's the only, let's say, irreplaceable at the back right now. Andreas Doi has been relegated to a position that's not even on the bench by Mendelibar in recent weeks. So I thought Retos reacted well. I thought he had a solid game at the back. People in the chat might jump on me, but no, honestly, I thought he was solid. He cleaned up everything at the back, and generally, like I said, it was Aris looked harmless, and it was a quite entertaining 3-0 victory, and it could have been more. Would you agree?
Just before answering that, I would like to make a comparison between Retsos and Olympiacos, because for me, Retsos incarnates my hope for Olympiacos to win a title. Because when you see this player, you want to believe in him. Like, from time to time, he's going to have very good game. Like, the way he plays, he looked like a modern defender. And as soon as you getting hope in that boy, he has a terrible game. Like, he fucks it up badly. And the club itself kind of works like that, because when you see the team right now, when you saw the game against AEK, it's visible that there is talent on this team. You have Potense, Fortounis, El Kaabi, Jovetić. I'm not even talking about the midfield, because Hesse has been very good since probably September. We all know Chiquinho, Horta, and you want to believe in all of that. And Red Sauce is the perfect example of that. And as soon as it will be able to have that regularity with no fouls, no penalties, no red cards, probably things would change for the club. And to answer your question, the game today was it was kind of strange because during the first minute you saw that ARIS probably wouldn't be too difficult to win. Like they did not have anything to play until the cup final, and that early goal is what we needed for so long in a game like that. To have a, I don't know the word in English, but to
Unlock the game.
yeah, to unlock the game, but also to take advantage of the situation you will have in the game, unlike this game against AEK, because if, for example, Masuras scored that header, it would have been very different. And the job was done, and the job was done quite nicely, I would say. Like I didn't stress any second, not a single second, and it was good for players to have a chance to play. For example, Carvalho scoring a goal. It's it's the carrot and the stick. If Carvalho has been playing for a long time, he's probably a hardworking guy and deserved to come in to score. And same for Jovetić. I'm just disappointed Jovetić did not score because he deserved it.
Yeah, and for the record, goal scorers today, Ayub El Kabi got the first goal, second goal from Daniel Pedence, and Carvalho got the third, cherry on top towards the end of the game. Assists coming from Kostas Fortounis, Stevan Jovetić with the layoff to Pedence for the second goal, and Omar Richards with a nice cross for essentially what was not almost a tap in for Carvalho at the near post. Well placed finish. And before we get into a bit more and talk about some of the key performances tonight, just want to say hello to all the Thrilos fans that are joining us from all over the world, whether you're in Central Europe, whether you're in Greece, whether you're in the UK, Australia. If you're waking up in Melbourne, it's nearly 7 o'clock in the morning in Melbourne. A lot of people tuning in either live with their morning coffee, or if you're in the US on the East Coast or the West Coast, this is the biggest international Olympiacos community that you can find online. Spread the word, spread the love, hit that like button. It really helps to find more Olympiacos fans and get them to join the community. Subscribe as well in case you haven't done so already. Hit the bell and you'll get notifications every time we go live or whenever we post new content. You can also support us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/gate7international. You can get more exclusive content there, ranging from access to our WhatsApp group chat, which is growing bigger and bigger. And you can also find some exclusive interviews, examples like the former president of Huracan, where Santiago Esse came from, Despina Panagoulias, the daughter of the infamous Greek coach that took us to the World Cup in 94. There's also an interview with Doran Leidner's agent as well, going into the life of an agent and some tidbits about Doran Leidner and his return. He's been playing with the B team, so there's more there on Patreon. You can go and check it out. There's a link in the description as well. And that's all. Now I've got the promo stuff out the way. We can get back to talking about today, and it's a big one for Fortounis. Career high in assists. That's quite extraordinary. 17 assists, a career high for Fortounis. Never done that before. And what a great cross that was for the first goal. And we've gotten used to Fortounis playing more as a number 10 over the years, and people have been screaming about this issue that Fortounis needs to play as a 10. But frankly, he's proven to me this season that if he wants to, he can perform on the wings as well, as a player that isn't a traditional wing player that sticks to the line. he's done well on the left. He's produced, and when he's on the right, he has a good connection with Rodinei, and I think he enjoys playing out there with Rodinei. Clearly have a good connection, and fantastic cross in for El Kabi's header. You put the ball where the striker is going to be, not where the striker is. What do you think about this topic in general, Marshall? Because I know we talk about Fortounis a lot. It's the topic that in the Olympiacos fan space, in the Olympiacos kingdom, the topic never goes away. We all know his contract is expiring at the end of the year. What do you do with him? Like, have you changed your mind, or does your mind change from week to week about Fortounis's significance, like, in this squad?
Well, it's a very good question, because at some point I wanted him to leave because I kind of feel that the circle is closed with Fortounis. But at the same time, over a season, when you have to play, like, for example, 50 game, probably, which it will be the amount of game we will play this season, you just can't say to Fortounis, like, to go away. To decide not to renew this guy is, for me, not possible, because yes, sometimes he won't track back. I will be pissed because his set pieces sometimes aren't good enough for me. He will miss key games, passes. I don't know. But over a season, when you have to play 50 game, it's someone that basically always was able to do double, like more than 10 goal, more than 10 assists every time he was fit enough to play during the whole season. And also, we tried many times to replace him. Like, how many offensive player this club brought in the last years? The only one that was, personally, in my opinion, above Fortounis was Valbuena. But a part of that, you had Solbakken, Scarpa, I don't know, both wingers or number 10 that aren't even the half of Fortounis' right foot, probably. So there is no debate for me. There is more a philosophical debate, if you want, about how Fortounis is important for the club, what can he do, how the team can play with both Fortounis and Spadense. But there is no much issue for me, because I would say the one that has to go would be probably Masouras, because if we have to keep the Greek core, I'm sure it won't be possible to keep Masouras and Fortounis and Solakis. But if one out of the three has to leave, probably I would say Masouras, because he has done everything with Olympiacos. He probably needs to have another experience abroad. But Fortounis, it's not possible to let him go right now, for me. Even if I've criticized him a lot, but you're on mute. I think you're on mute.
That's an interesting take insofar as the Greek core is concerned, and who's the most likely to leave, if it's Fortounis, if it's Masouras or Zoulagis. I think we'll try and keep all of them. There's a discussion to be had about Zoulagis as well, but at this moment in time, I have to bring in our other co-host, one of the co-founders of the podcast, Labros Sirmos, tuning in from...
Why is he laughing?
Why? The man not allowed to laugh? Labros Sirmos is joining from Hawaii, ladies and gentlemen. What time is it over there?
It's 9:55 in the morning.
There we go. Olympiacos fans all over the world. We got France in Marshall. I'm in Brussels. Speaking of Brussels, Kostis Karas tuning in from Brussels as well. If you're listening on Twitter as well, guys, like go check us out on YouTube as well. You can follow from there. Labro, do you want to come in on this discussion we're having on Fortounis? It's like one of those things that we maybe we've beaten it to death, but like every week there's another reason to talk about him. 17 assists in one season. That's like, how many players do you know around the world that are close to 20 assists? And has he got more than 10 goals already? Like, it's ridiculous.
He has 10 goals right now.
Yeah,
10
no, I
goals,
don't.
17 assists.
I think you have to renew him, right? I think, yeah, you have to renew him as many times as I've been frustrated with him defensively, and just his level of effort, his leadership on the field at times. I think you need to renew him. I agree with Martial about Masuras. I think when you see him play, it feels like the cycle is completely. It seems like Fortounis still has, he statistically still has a lot to give to Olympiacos, and as Martial said, he's very valuable in these games against Greek competition, against Lamia, against Aris.
It's 31, not that
Yeah,
old.
he's not that old. He can give contributions to the team. He knows the Greek Super League very well. He now has played in Europe. He can lead the team. Going into the summer, we're probably going to have to play 4 rounds of qualifiers. I think he'd be very valuable in these sorts of games. So yeah, no, I agree. I think you need to renew him at this point. I hope it's not for a massive contract, like 3 or 4 years. I think a 2-year contract makes sense, 2+1 maybe. But we'll see. Fortounis has all the cards in this relationship, which is difficult, I think, for the club. And he has this kind of dominance over the fans and over the space where he can ask for what he wants. And he has the backing of the supporters. And, it's a difficult position, I think, for management, because they kind of have to give Fortounis what he wants, even though his past discretions and behavior have been detrimental to the club. The fans seem to look past that, and they don't really give a shit. So they're kind of boxed in. They have to give him the contract he wants at this point, I think. So that's my point of view.
Yeah, but at the same time, I go back to what Martial said earlier, is that if you look at the players that we've tried to bring in over the years to replace him, like they've, except for Valbuena, they've all pretty much failed. And you can't guarantee, like the big discussion is like you said, how much and for how long. Realistically, like the player, I'm sure he doesn't want to leave Greece. I don't think he would ever play for another big Greek club. So, I think push comes to shove, they're going to find an agreement at the end of the season. We have to just consider the wage budget going into the new season, and generally finances are probably going to be a bit tighter. We're not going to be playing Europa League. It's not the same money in conference. Sure, we can hopefully go further, but okay, one step at a time. That's probably all we need to say about Fortounis today. And maybe just one other key statistic. The guy had 3 key passes in the first half already. One was the assist to Okabi, another one for nicely placed pass to Heze, who had a shot blocked inside the penalty box, and then the corner kick where Carmo had a free header. So 3 key passes in the first half. And another interesting statistic, Ayoub El-Kabi has 26 goals this season, and he's chasing Alekos Alexandris' record of 32 goals in a season. That's a record held by Alexandris from the 2001-2002 season. Almost 30 goals from Ayoub El-Kabi, a striker that can't finish to save his life when he's got the opportunity to, go one-on-one with the keeper and the ball's in front of his feet on his left foot. You can't finish, but if it's a header from a cross or a tap in or a bicycle kick or something extraordinary, he can do it. But boy, does he frustrate me at times. And I don't know about you guys, but I swear I knew he was going to do the Panenka today, and he fucked it.
It's when we saw the penalty against Greece and Georgia, like there is no risks to take on the penalty. It's a basic technical gesture, and like with a little bit of power, it's almost unstoppable. Like the Panenka, not like that. Like you can do it if you El Arabi, for example. I remember when he did the Panenka, probably it was against PAOK in the semi-final of the cup, the one we lost due to Oliveira. And but yeah, The only risk I see with that is El Kaabi taking the penalty because he wants to score as many goals as he can, and it can be frustrating for Podense or I don't know, Fortounis probably if he wanted to take it. I don't know. That's the only risk I see, apart from being ridiculous, of course.
I mean, he has scored a number of penalties this season that have all been, pretty well taken. Just today, I thought it was a bit too much, and maybe is there a bit of overconfidence creeping in there? I'm not sure. It seemed like he tried at least 2 or 3 bicycle kicks today. Labrador just smirking.
I don't know with El Capi, man. I think he's like, you go back, people love shitting on strikers and missed chances, but like go through the past years of the strikers we've had, and would you take fucking El Capi over them? For me, like I thought back to like Brownie Day, who a lot of people consider was a good striker for Olympiacos, and El Capi is like much superior. His statistics are much better. Like there's a lot of strikers that he has passed, like that we have brought. Of course, he's not El Arabi, but even Bakambu so much seriously better than El Capi. Like I don't know.
We
I don't
keep
know.
remembering the goal of Bakambu in Hagia Sophia. Probably changed the perception we have of Bakambu, because I don't have the numbers in my head, but I don't recall him scoring many goals against Panathinaikos, PAOK, not even doing what El Kaabi did when he came in Tumba, for example, because it matters at the end of the day. And you speaking about Ide, for example, when Ide was at Olympiacos, the competition wasn't as good as the one we have now. I remember PAOK at the time, it was kind of a joke when he did the celebration with the pea thing, like the dog thing. Shit PAOK was at the time compared to now.
Yeah. No, I just think people are kind of underestimating the feat and the goal scoring ability he's shown. And I also in Europe, how many goals has he scored now? Like he scored 2 against Maccabi Tel Aviv as well. He scored against Freiburg.
Let me look.
Like the guy scored a lot of big goals in Europe in the league, and just because he misses chances, people want to hold it on him.
He has 10 goals in Europe.
That's insane, right? Like, can we not say that? That's fucking crazy. Ioannidis doesn't even have 10 goals in the league, I think. Anyway, don't need to go there. Like, people consider Ioannidis like the best striker in the league, but he doesn't fucking score that many goals if you look at the statistics. And goals aren't everything, but when you're a striker, it's very important, of course. So it's not as easy as people make it seem. Oh, he misses lots of chances. He's shit. There's a reason he's always in good positions to score goals that exposes him. It's because his positioning and his work rate is very fucking good, and he's in position to score a lot of goals that a lot of players would not be in that position. So I personally think he's a good striker. I just think people have these insane perceptions that he needs to finish all these chances, that he needs to be El Arabi, but you know what? He's in position to score all these chances, and that's the most important thing as a striker. Yes, the finishing's important, but that's my main point.
But that's it with a striker. If you put yourself in the right position and you can smell where the ball's going to go and be in the right place at the right time to poke it in with your nose or whatever, El Kaabi is brilliant in that sense. But I think we can all agree that when you see him going up to the keeper one-on-one, there's just something that you're like, it's not his forte. It's not his forte, like placing the ball, like finishing one-on-one. But having said all of that, Ari shared a stat here. Since he's come back from the African Cup of Nations, he's got an almost 40% goal conversion. In February, he had 8 goals out of 11 shots on target. 8 goals, 11 shots on target. That's a stat from February. But that's extraordinary. You said it earlier, Marshall, off camera. We've got a creative player in midfield that's getting close to to 20 assists that has 10 goals, and you have a striker that we're complaining about that has almost 30 goals in a season. That's a luxurious topic to be whinging about, I would say. But moving on to another
It's
player.
not El Kabi who's going to lose us the title. It's not El Kabi who is going to fuck us. That's my opinion. If the season gets decided, it is going to be the shitty defending that is going to cost, from the first half of the season until now, that's going to cost the club the title.
But that's been the plague. That's been the plague of this season and last season.
But people love to shit on the striker, and it's just bullshit like usual. But anyway, let's continue.
Speaking of strikers, attackers, Alex 50 says another great game by Jovetić. He says it's a crime if he doesn't stay the next season. No way we can find a player like him that can play as a second striker, number 10, and a winger. What do we think about this? Because it's really a player that in the first half of the season, he gave us next to nothing, I would say. A penalty, a goal here and there against one of the minnow teams in Greece. I remember being fairly excited about him playing at West Ham. I think it was one of the first games that he started when we played West Ham away. Barely touched the ball, barely had a sniff in that game. I think he was underwhelming for me right up until he was put into the hands of Jose Luis Mendilibar. And now he's really shining ever since Mendilibar showed up. And for me, the answer is quite simple. You know, why is there such a big difference in the Jovetić that we saw under the previous managers, and you know, how and why is he so different with Mendilibar? Is because he's playing in the right positions. He's not being deployed as a centre forward. He was played as a lone striker by Martinez. And, you know, under Mendilibar, we've seen him coming out from the left, playing 15, 20-minute roles towards the end of the game. And, you know, you really feel his presence. Like he's very active on the field, both in terms of creating opportunities, playing balls in behind. We know he's very clever on the ball. He reads the game well. He sees the runners. And, I mean, okay, guys, at the end of the day, we're talking about a player that really reached a world-class level. Yes, he's at the twilight of his career, but what do we think? Do we think that this is a player that we can potentially rely on going into next season? What do we think about Jovetić? Are either of you... I'll start with you, Labro. Are you surprised at how good he's been since Mendilibar came in, or is that an exaggeration?
No, I don't think I'd be surprised. I think you saw instances of his talent. It's just he cannot play as a sole striker at this point in his career. I don't know how old he is. What is he, 33, 34? I'm looking now. He's 34. He cannot play as a sole striker. It seems impossible for him. He's not that player. He doesn't have the build, but he's very good behind the striker. And that doesn't mean that he can't score. It means that, you know, he's much better playing the ball deeply. He's very good with the ball and a player at his back. Let's say he receives the ball and he needs to hold it up and distribute. Like with both feet, that's the difference between him and El Kabi. You can see his hold up play is really good. He's not going to run over the top for the ball, but he's going to tuck in, create triangles, distribute, move. And he's very good at that. And then when the cross is coming in, he can go in and attack it as well and offer a second man in the box, because he's quite good in the air, in my opinion. So, no, he's a good player. He's shining under Mendilibar. He's showing he has a role, and he's very fine having that role. He's not demanding more playing time. It doesn't seem like he's not upset with it. I just worry chronically throughout his career, it's been the injuries. You cannot rely and sign up a player to be your second striker, let's say, when you know they're going to be chronically injured for 2 to 3 weeks, pick up a knock, pick up a hamstring. So you can't rely on that player. What Jovetić is doing now is great, but we could find out Sunday that he has pulled his hamstring. He's not available against Fenerbahce, and and that's detrimental to the team. So how can you rely on a player like that that you know is going to be injured? So can he continue? Yes, but he can't be, and maybe he isn't even now, but he can't be considered a pivotal player who you can trust throughout the season, which is disappointing because he is quality in that role. That's my opinion. So, Martial?
Well, I kind of agree with you. My frustration is I think we have to keep him for the only reason that it takes time to players like Jovetić to get in shape and to have the rhythm to be good enough to start games. Because with Jovetić, the issue hasn't been the level of this guy, because we all know he played in City, played in Monaco. I remember him when he played for Monaco. Like, he was playing 1 game out of 5, but the game he was playing was super nice. Like, but he wasn't a striker. He wasn't. You don't really know what kind of position this guy should play in. But the issue is we've been overloading the squad with players that took minutes away from Jovetić, and those players were either Sabaken or Scarpa. If you, for example, go back to the summer with Jovetić coming in with no Scarpa, no Solbakken, we wouldn't. Of course, Martinez probably wasn't a big fan of Jovetić, but we do not integrate players like that rightly, because they need times, they need to play back-to-back games. Of course, he's injury prone, but look at now, like, he has some rhythm. He's playing, for example, an average of half an hour per game. Will he be a starter for Olympiacos? The answer is no, because I don't see him being able to play 30 full games out of 50, for example. But the quality he has, given the fact that we will be playing, for example, Conference League next season. Imagine having Jovetić for the Conference League. How many clubs that plays Conference League would love to have Jovetić? Probably 80%. If you take off the English clubs and Turkish club, probably the French club. But even Lille, for example, they would love to have Jovetić probably. And I think we have to. I don't think we have to keep him at all costs. But given the fact that we will not be champions, probably, there is no much debate about Jovetić for me. But the same applies for El Khahabi. If we had to play Champions League, I would agree that, okay, we can find someone better than El Khahabi. But if we had to qualify for, let's not forget we have to play qualifiers. And if you have to play qualifiers, you need a basis on your team. Last season, we were lucky enough to have easy draws because we played fucking Scarpa in qualifiers. He hasn't scored any goal during qualifiers. And it's not to be, it has to be taken into consideration, because in Conference League, you don't have any, I don't know the word, any security. If you lose, you don't play Europe at all.
Yeah.
So let's take no risk. That's the only strategy for me.
And I think Jovetić is a complicated player for fans and analysis because he doesn't fucking score goals very often, right? As well. In Greece, and the fans of Olympiacos are so used to analyzing a striker. Does he score goals? Yes or no? If he scores goals, he's good. If he doesn't, he's bad. But Jovetić, at this point in his career, is not about the goal. It's what he sets up. It's what the calm he brings as well. Will he score goals? Yes, but he's not going to have the record of Alkabi even. So, you know what I mean? It's a complicated player for Olympiacos fans to understand, I think, as well, and for Greek football standards. So,
Martial, would you view him as a replacement to El Arabi next season, for example? If you consider that El Arabi is getting €2 million a season, he's one of the, he's a veteran guy, he's experienced, he's technically gifted, he can play a little bit, he can drop behind the striker as well and open up the play. At the end of the day, I think Jovetić it's his intelligence on the pitch as well that's something that you can't find very easily on the market. The intelligence and the experience that he carries, and the ability to bring things in different positions, whether he's called on to play wide, cutting in on the left, whether he's playing as a 10 or as a false 9. Like you said, he's a player that's quite hard to really label. Like, he's not a striker anymore. He's, maybe this is sacrilege, but almost like a Giovanni type player, in that Giovanni wasn't a striker, but he wasn't really a 10. He was just kind of something in between. You just put the guy on the field and he's going to make things happen, whether it's an assist, whether he's going to get you a goal, he's going to make something happen. Can he be a game changer for us? Can he be important for us? Do you think that, looking ahead to next season, and all the talk about Babis Kostulas needing to make his way into the first team, El Kabi probably worth the contract extension? You've got El Kabi, you'd have Jovetić, you'd have Kostulas, but I think we all know that we're going to make a move for a number one striker. So where does that leave Jovetić? Do you think it's the El Arabi replacement, the veteran, Passepartout?
Yeah, it's a good comparison, because the thing you say that matters the most to me is intelligence, holding the ball, launching counters and stuff like that. We all know that El Arabi is able to do that, because he's not fast enough now to be the striker, but every time he comes in, the way he uses the ball is very useful for the team. And of course, for me, Jovetić can be both the replacement for El Arabi, but also for Masouras if Masouras leaves, because in that position, that could be false 9, second striker, I don't know, number 10, sometime a winger if needed against smaller Greek teams. You don't really find better player than Jovetić. You will find probably players that will score more goals, for example, Despodov or players like that. But if the team in general is betterly built next season than it was this season, then Jovetić could really be useful, even if it does not score that much. I think we have to. Jovetić is a special kind of player, as you said. Like, he won't hit double-double. He probably never did in his career. But look at how important it is for the national team, for example. It doesn't need, to be the striker. I don't know. It's a old school player to me.
Yeah.
He even played with the thing on his nose to breathe better. But he's the only one doing that.
I agree. I also think if you go into the summer with El Cab, because we understand how these things work, you don't get a good striker really these days in July. So
no, but what we also, I think we need a team to make it to the Conference League at first. Then we need to win the title. But it's not winning the title and then getting to Europe. It's the opposite, because the summer we will need to get to Conference League without any security. We won't go into another competition if we lose. So
yeah,
we don't need to sing that much, for example, for a new role.
Yeah. So even Masouras at that point is valuable in the qualifications, even if it feels like his cycle is closed. At that point, it's tough. But I honestly think for the Conference League until the end, the last few qualifiers, I think Kostulas, El Kabi, and Jovetić as a 3. Do you trust those 3 with a Jovetić injury and then a 17-year-old as your other option, as being your strikers? I think for me, yes, but will the club do it? Probably no. They'll buy some shitty strikers. So
I think you answered your own question earlier when you said that it's not easy to find a good striker, number 1, that's willing to, come to Olympiacos
to play Conference League qualifier.
to play qualifiers. It doesn't happen, man. I mean, last summer we were chasing what's his name from Seville, the striker,
Rafa
right
Mir.
up, right up until the end, and that never happened. And I feel like both of you said, kind of going into the qualifiers, we need that security in their players that they have. El Kabi certainly has overachieved in expectation, I think, for all of us. And Jovetić has come good towards the end of the season. The season's not over. And I think that's the key. Like, season's not over. Let's see how the season ends. And I'm sure these are hopefully questions that are being asked and thought about in the minds of the executives that are running the club. But
The more important thing for me is not the striker. It's that we already have a lot of pieces that will be here next year, core pieces, or we have a few pieces, I should say. You have Retsos,
Chiquinho
you
and
have
Hesse.
Rodinei, you have Chiquinho and Hesse now, you have a spine of the team, Ortega, Rodinei, whatever you think of them. And then Retsos, again, whatever you think of him, he's a starting. The question is, those gaps, will we be able to hold those players, the loans? If we keep Carmo, if we keep Horta, if we keep Podense, then what are you worried about in the qualifiers? Like, that's quality for Europa League, probably. That's not Conference League quality. So, and we're talking about Conference League. I think that some people commented, but AEK lost tonight to Panathinaikos, so Olympiacos remains 6 points back of PAOK for the title. So,
AEK, yeah, 6 points between us and the top right now.
So, and AEK and PAOK play on Sunday. So, the world was ending on Sunday. Martial was part of it when we lost to AEK, but we could be in a position where it's like 3 to 4 point gap going into this second half of the playoffs. And Martial will tell me, oh, we still haven't won a derby, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, if when Carvajal was leaving, if you told me there's how many 8 games left of the playoffs and we have only 3 point difference or 4 point difference with first place, do you take it?
Yeah,
fuck course. Yes, you take it. Fuck yes, you take it. So let's just we just need to win this next game versus Lamia, and then it's fit. Then the season's on the line essentially. Then it's like you lose, you're fucked. So that's when this team has to really show up.
The only issue I have is I think someone said it perfectly on the Patreon group, is if we, for example, make it 4 wins out of the 4 next game, the realistic goal will be very difficult to catch because no one will be left out for the 4th position. But we will believe more in the dreamy objective being champions. I mean, I don't want the team to fall into a trap, probably, that would be fighting for the title and losing everything like in the last game, because it's gonna be like that. Like, nothing will be played before the last game or the one before. I don't know. It's very difficult to have
none of these teams can be consistent. Like, none of these teams, the top 4 teams, can be consistent winners. I think it's been proven now. Yeah. Like, anyone can win any game between the two when you put them together.
No, it's true.
You don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know.
It is genuinely exciting, like what's happening in the Greek Super League. Like, for all the shit that we can talk about that goes on behind the scenes, and let's not talk about that. It is genuinely exciting. You think that anything can happen, and there are 8 games left. 6 this month. We play Lamia away next fixture. Then we've got Fenerbahce at home, Fenerbahce away, and then we play PAOK at home before traveling to face ARIS. Then play Lamia at home, AEK at home, and in the last game of the season is derby, Panathinaikos Olympiacos in Leoforos. Last game of the season.
That's great. The storyline writes itself. The storyline writes itself. But honestly, if you look this set of games, it's like, this is it. Like, you know, it's Lamia, it's the European games, and PAOK at home. Like, you know, those two, you need to win this game against Lamia. And then if you beat PAOK at home, you're playing for the season. You have to win this fucking derby. You know what I mean? Like, finally, this club, like, the fans have been asking, like, let's win a derby at home and push us on. Like, if we fail there, if we fail to beat them, like, it's finished for me. There's just, like, emotionally and mentally, you're cooked you know, this team is done, right? So I think that's the first of all, you have to beat Lamia, which we saw tonight in Tumba is not the easiest thing in the world. And then you have these Fener games as well, which are huge. But I'm just thinking about the league in my head right now. You beat Lamia, and then it's the season for me. It's like more than a cup final against PAOK because it determines any chance you have at pushing for the title. So
until the next game.
Until the next game, but if you lose, it's over for me. That's when I'm like, because Martial after this game with Ike, I think is ready to say it's over, we're finished. I've still just looked at the math, and that game against PAOK is what I've circled as kind of like, if we lose at home, we don't do it there, you can't do it anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's finished. You know, if you can't do that game with your fans, with the chance to do this, you're finished.
Just want to remind you that having to play Lucescu in Karaiskakis is equally as hard as any European final we would have to play. Because I remember when he came to win with the Mihai goal to deprive us from the invincible thing. I remember when he won the semi-final of the cup, the 4-1 in the season. If we really had to win one game, one derby at home this season, it has to be this one. And maybe I would believe it, but it's too many ifs, too many what?
There's too many ifs. You need to see them do something, right? Like, you need to see them do something in a derby under Mendilibar.
I've watched the PAOK game today against Ike, and the way they scored the first goal and the second one right after, it's probably what I would have expected the team to do, for example, in that firecracker derby. You know, one goal and one goal straight away, you know, to like what we did against Tel Aviv, for example, you know, punishing the opponent. And we kind of almost did it against Ike. We did not score, but yeah.
At least from my part, from what I've been seeing from the team in the last couple of games, including the Ike game, I came out of that with a really strange feeling. Just overall, that like I can't believe how well we played. Almost can't believe how well we played that game, and just, you know, a bit shell shocked that that we didn't even come away with a point. But I seem to, maybe it's a misguided faith that I have that the team is actually performing right now and that the team is connecting quite well. I think something that isn't talked about enough is the midfield partnership that's developed between Chiquinho and Heze. And I ask myself, when's the last time that we had a midfield pairing like that in the modern history of this club? Like, two players that are really machines in the midfield that can run for 90 minutes plus non-stop, that they can press high up the field. And not only that, but you see a good level of coordination between two players that have not been playing for more than 3 months together. Chiquinho joined in January, and Heze, I think he's been a very, very good signing for us. I think he had a dip in form after he got that injury against Freiburg, but since coming back after the new year, he's he's a mainstay. Like, what do you do when those two aren't fit? Like, look at the situation now. I mean, Iborra, if he comes in, he gets 5-10 minutes at the end to kind of close out a game, but you can't take those two out. They're absolutely vital in terms of what they give us in terms of athleticism, dynamic play, ability to transition fast on offense and transition back in time on defense. And I think, you know, those two are absolutely key moving forward and making sure that they're fit and raring to go week in, week out. Let's not forget, these guys are playing almost 3 games a week. Yeah, they're playing Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, like they're playing all the time.
Yeah, I think what you hope, fingers crossed, is that you can get something out of João Carvalho. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts João Carvalho maybe on the weekends with Heze, giving Chiquinho some time off. But, you know, this is what it's all fucking about. This is club football at the end, you know, when the title's on the line, there's lots of fixtures, every game is pressure, and like, you know, this is what it's all about, you know. It's they need to play, you know. A lot of players, we always talk about, oh, they need rest, they need time off. They just
Exactly.
had a week off. Like, they are set to play how many games? 8 more games,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
agree with you.
This is
Like,
what it's all about. Like, they need to fucking push through, and they need to deliver, you know. Like, if Joao Carvalho can give them some time off, that's okay, but like, this is not the time to start crying about rest. Like, they worked the preseason, they've worked hard to be in this position. They need to push through and
I don't see
deliver.
any tiredness when I see Heze playing, for example. I mean,
Yeah,
he's not
me
getting
neither.
injured. He's not running less. I don't know. I agree with Lambros because the players came here to play those games. Like, even if it's one game every 3 days, they came here to play that. So
We can't make excuses for them now, like about the rest and stuff. Like, my biggest fear is that, yeah, the depth is not there. We do not have another 6. Ibora cannot be counted on to start a game, you know. I think I'm right in saying that that is a problem. But the fact of the matter is, there's not long left. Like, they just need to push through. That's the goal here. And, you know, we addressed that in the summer. These players are playing for a title. A lot of them have never won a title in their life. Like, I don't know, Heze, has he ever won a title? So this is what it's all about, man. Like, this is what it's all about. Like, you need to push through for 6 more games. You're in a quarterfinal of European competition. Like, does he want to sit down and rest and give Ibora time? Like, I don't know. I assume he wants to push through and help the team win the title. So we have depth in other areas. We can make this work, but I don't know. That's they got another week off, you know. They got another week off. They didn't play in the cup. They didn't have those extra fixtures. Like, here we go. This is what it's all about. That would be my message to them anyway.
So suck it up is the message from Labros there. For those
How
two.
many times did we hear about, like, oh, the players need more rest? No, and then the players got rest and they fucking sucked. So, like, you know what I mean? I hate that excuse. Like, oh, they just need rest. They play too much. It's like,
yeah, it's
what did you want? You want to play less? Would you be happier? No, they would not be happy. They'd say, oh, why am I not playing more? So, like, we just need them to fucking push for it a little bit, and I think they will. I think it's more of a fans thing when they talk about rest and all that.
When you look at it, how many, like the numbers of injury you will get is way higher in trainings than in games. Like, I don't know, Josesa breaking his fucking arm in training before to play Wolves. He could have played 200 games straight without any injury, and you just get injured in training. But same for, I don't know, for Horta, for example, just injured in the international break out of nowhere. So yeah, I think that, yeah, with the 5 subs, it's easier to play every 3 days. The bench quality probably will be the game changer in this league. And I don't think the bench of other teams is way better.
For sure.
Pau probably has a good bench.
Ike has Ponce, who comes off the bench. They have Mantalos, who's shown he has changed games as much as people shit on him. You know,
Go Talos. I like this guy,
so,
I have to say.
But I think here's a discussion that we can also have, as the banner reads. Paschalakis has been demoted. Can we say that? He's been removed from the starting position. And Zorlakis looks like he's now, for the final stretch, Olympiacos' #1 keeper. What do you think about that, Marcial, like on your side?
I don't really know what to think because I don't have any explanation on this. It lacks explanation from the club because
they're faking the injury. They're like, oh, he's injured.
I don't think he's injured.
He's not injured, man. He got called up to the national team too.
It's I do appreciate Solakis having a stint of games to prove he can play. I assume it has to be about the contract that it's ending, but it's very weird the way it has been done. Like, you just renew your goalkeeper, and Paschalakis has been very consistent since he came to the club. And then you just start someone that hasn't been playing the whole season, not even in the cup. And I don't know, it just makes no sense, but it has been quite good, I have to say, both in Europe and in playoff. So yeah, I think maybe it's also Mendilibar that prefers Solakis in the build-up. I don't know. It could be multiple things. I don't know.
I think Mendilibar, I think maybe he blames some of the problems in organizing the defense and coming out on Paschalakis. I don't know if that's like the correct reading. I don't think he would ever admit it. But you have this sort of feeling that maybe it's one of two things, like you said, Martial. It's like either this contract situation where Tolakis has said either I need to start playing or I'm leaving at the end of the year, or Mendilibar and his coaches have done an analysis where they say Paschalakis' lack of action coming out of the box, his inability to organize our defense has cost us a lot of important goals. Let's try Tolakis out, and he's done well, and the defense has been. Can we say we've looked a bit better since he's come in organizationally, defensively? So maybe those are the two things to me. Either this is like a behind the scenes, Tolakis forcing his way in, or Mendilibar and his staff said, look, some of our shit defensively is coming from the goalkeeper, not organizing the team, not stepping up, and not being vocal. I don't know. Maybe he did this analysis, maybe whatever one of his assistants did, and they said, let's give Tolakis a chance. Costa, are you able to speak, and can you what is your opinion on this? That's my idea. It's like maybe there was an analysis done and they said, wait a second, the goalkeeper needs changing.
Yeah, I think it's one thing's for sure is that Tolakis' return to the lineup has also been at the same time as the return of the goalkeeping coach Agroyanis. I think that's no coincidence there. In the timing, I think Agroyanis leaving in the summer was an important factor in Tolakis' confidence, and I think if you watched the game against Maccabi, if you saw Agroyanis talking to Tolakis throughout the game, like encouraging him from the touchline, there was communication between the goalkeeping coach and Tolakis, and I think that relationship is really important. Let's not forget we're talking about a kid. Like, I think he's 21 now, and this is a player that's been getting first team opportunities with us since he was 17, like going to preseason games. And the question here up on the banner is he finally ready for number one? I think that by the end of this season, that question should be answered by the end of this season. From my part, I think that yes, there is a organizational aspect. He has a different kind of demeanor to Paschalakis. Paschalakis is kind of a wild, eccentric goalkeeper who'll make a big save, and the defenders will go up to him and say, like, he's been a savior for us in some games. I remember mainly last season, he's put in some incredible goalkeeping performances. But Tolakis, on the other hand, he's not the eccentric type. He's a bit more kind of level-headed at the back, and I think he can see even on the young shoulders that he has, he can see the game quite clearly and calmly from the back, and he can organize the defense pretty well, even at his age. And also, just looking back over time, the things that he's improved his play with the ball at his feet, and I think this is one of the key differences with Paschalakis as well. Is that Tolakis right now is better with the ball at his feet. His distribution has improved as well. So it's not just it's the ball control and the distribution that's better, and it's faster. And that's what Spanish coaches want at the back. Their goalkeeper able to play the ball fast out the back and get the team going, get the ball forward. He's not punching the ball as much. Like, you guys probably remember, like, you'd see a cross come in, and all of a sudden Zolagis would come out with one fist or like two fists like that. He's cleaner when he's coming out, and also I think he's really adopted this sweeper keeper approach. It's a keeper that comes, he'll come off his line. If there's a ball that's coming over the top and it's outside his box and the defender's out of place, he'll run and he'll make a sweeping tackle and clear the ball. We saw that against Ike, where he took a risk against Levi Garcia and stopped a dangerous attack. He did it again today a couple of times. So I think it's like, we've talked about this keeper as someone with potential. He's even been listed in magazines and by football scouts as a top 10 young goalkeepers in Europe, etc., etc. And I think that like we're seeing some of that develop over time. The question is, like, do we have the maturity and the patience to stick with him when he makes the mistake? And that's why I say that at the end of this season, we should be able to answer the question, is he finally ready to take the #1 spot and take the gloves home and be our keeper going into the Conference League qualifiers or even Champions League qualifiers next season? And do we have that confidence in him? We'll find out at the end of the season. That's what I think.
The funny thing is that the club has put its confidence on players that has so bad compared to Zolagis. I mean, I won't list all of them, but we've played European games, like massive games, with players that are so poor compared to Zolagis. So the club has to take the risks. Honestly, if you don't take the risk with Zolagis, well, you don't take it with anyone. It might cost us, but do you see, for example, what kind of goalkeeper would you want to see in Olympiacos? That's the other question, because it's the same question than for El Kaabi, or I don't know, which player the fan base would love to see coming to Olympiacos to replace them, to play Conference League qualifiers. I mean, which goalkeeper are you going to sign now?
Now that gave Pascal Lex a pretty big contract as well, something that this comment brings up. It's very interesting that they play him now. Like I wish there was a reporter who could ask the manager, like, why are you playing? So like, seems like a basic question. Like, I don't think anyone has asked that in a press conference. Like, seems like it's like, why the change? Like, why has no one asked him that? Because I think his answer, I think it'd be very interesting to hear what he says. Like, if he says, oh, we did an analysis of Pascal Lex and we think so Lex does this better. Like, what do you think he would say? Like, what would he say?
He'll never say that.
But what would he say? What would he say? Like, oh, we ate 4 goals against Maccabi Tel Aviv and we thought changing the keeper would help. Like, what would he say? Like, I don't know what he would, like, if I could ask him, like, I made him take a truth serum and he had to tell me the honest truth. Like, why are you playing him? Like, I'd be really interested to hear his analysis and what he thought, because to be honest with you, it could be that he may blame some of the defensive trouble on Pascal Lex. Like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if he did an analysis and that was it. I wouldn't also be surprised if Torlaki's agent went to the club and said, listen, if we don't play now, you're fucked. But anyway.
Yeah.
Because this injury stuff, the injury is made up, like, of Pascal Lex. There's no injury. Like, there's no injury. That is complete bullshit. There is no way. There's no way. There's just simply no way. Anyway.
I'm just trying to think about, like, the goalkeeper we could find to replace Tolakis or Pashalakis to be a starter. Given the fact that we're not using the scouting department to sign players, it smells like, I don't know, Vlachodimos, it won't come back to Greece for us. That's sure. But also, I don't know, otherwise. I'm just trying to think to good players we've signed. Like, it could be an equivalent of Heze, for example, to play for someone from Argentina, to came to be the keeper. But
also, well, I want to ask you, maybe, anyway, this is off topic, but Vlachodimos, do you guys rate as like an elite keeper that a lot of Greek football fans rate him to be?
He wins
Steve
you game.
Cooper and Nuno saw this guy play and played Matt Turner, who's a very shit keeper from the US. Like, does that not, say something about the quality? Like, what this was such a mistake of him and his agent to go to Nottingham Forest. Like, he had a very strong reputation. He should have gone to Germany or something like that. And now he's going to have to downgrade to quite a shitty club, probably, or not shitty club, but he's going to drop level. Like, will he play Champions League football again? Maybe not. So
maybe we're running out of time. As interesting as that Vlaho Dimos
I do rate him personally. He wins.
I think he's decent keeper. But
in Benfica, he won them game many times. He's shit with his feet, that's true. But it would have been exactly what we needed to win derbies in Greece, for example, or European games.
Yeah.
I think the guy's done better than his brother has, and
the bar is low.
that's not difficult, but I respect the career that he's made for himself, and I do remember him being a frustrating keeper to play against when he was up and coming and he was young and he was playing for Panathinaikos. Even though some of the memories I have were like Masura sitters, like 1-on-1, and like Vlaho Dimos has kind of put his foot out and stopped the ball somehow. But I think he's one of those typical kind of Greek keepers that's really good at like reflex saves, like Athanasiadis as well, like we saw on the weekend. But yeah, it's true. Like if you who do you go for on the market? Strakosha, who I think is he's the son of a former Olympiacos keeper, and he's a substitute goalkeeper in the Premier League. That we looked at him last summer, and I think the summer before.
29.
Yeah,
he's 29.
Yeah, like he's not a bad age, but he's expensive.
He's born in Greece. He's born in Greece, and he speaks Greek as well.
Yeah. His dad was a keeper for us. Yeah. But anyway, there's one more topic I want to talk about before we wrap up, and we've just been going over an hour. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. We're close to hitting 3,900 subs on YouTube. If you're following us on Twitter as well, a lot of you are. Do make your way over to YouTube now or afterwards. Subscribe there and make sure you get all your content from Gate 7 International. Hit the bell, get notified whenever we go live or when new content comes up. Last topic, gents. Omar Richards. Am I the only one that kind of feels like it's clear? Like when this guy fit and injury free is so clear of Francisco Ortega, I almost want to say like I want him to get more games. Like I want to see more of him. And I thought he had a good game today. He had a couple of really good crosses in from the left. He got an assist. Your thoughts on Omar Richards? Like, would you try and keep him on another loan at the end of the season? Feasible? Who wants to crack on that?
I'm lacking elements to answer because I just don't understand exactly what happened with this guy this season. I have too many question marks. How long he really got injured? How many times? What was his shape when he came? Why is not used more? I have too many questions to answer because the quality is visible. Not as a winger, but to be a left back during the easy Greek game, if I can call that, or the more open game in Greece. I mean, his quality is outrageous. Sometimes this club sometimes is not logic. You have a guy that probably would be a good championship player or making a career abroad. He would probably still playing for Bayern if he wasn't injured, rotation player probably. And we wonder if this guy is good enough to play for Olympiacos. You just have to see him playing for 10 minutes as a left back when he has some spaces and time to show his quality. And the answer for me, I wouldn't keep him on the loan because we have limitation probably. But I've been very frustrated by how little he was used.
I kind of want to see him play in a bigger role, like in a bigger game, let's say, like play against in a derby or before I can kind of judge the player. But saying that, if you can keep him, like Martial said, do one of these Forest or Olympiacos deals, let's say they do not get relegated, I don't think they would use him probably. In all likelihood, he comes back to us, and that frees us to sell Ortega to help us meet FFP and bring in a talented striker or another midfielder. I think that would be an okay option, but like Martial said again, I don't want to judge him off a game against ARIS per se, but I do see the talent as well. Even in the game against Panathinaikos, I want to say in the cup where he played out of position, he looked to be quite good. So I kind of want to see more. Ortega, we have to also say, has been playing better as of late. We should acknowledge that. He was quite good against Amrabat again, against Ike. But again, if he comes good, it can give us flexibility into next year to try to sell Ortega. You put Ortega, you put Pep Biel together, a sale, you can get a quality player. Maybe that brings us Horta, maybe that brings us Podence as well. So him being decent could alleviate some other options for us in the financial space and transfer market as well. So that's sort of my opinion. I don't know, but we'll
Very
see.
good. We'll have to wait until the end of the season for that one as well. Obviously, a lot of open questions regarding next year's squad, but one day at a time. I believe that Francisco Ortega was left out of today's squad out of precaution, so I don't think it's a serious injury that he's picked up. But definitely, I think we would agree, Omar Richards, the quality is there if he can keep himself fit. I agree with you, Labro. I think I'd like to see him in a bigger game as well. Let's see. Last thing before we go, man of the match, coach's grade. As usual, we've put out a poll on YouTube. If you haven't answered that one already, there's a couple going around on Twitter and Instagram as well. If I take a look at Twitter, we've put 4 different options for you there. Fortounis, Jovetić, Richards, other. On Twitter, 59% of you have voted for Jovetić, 20% voted for Richards, and Fortounis, 2% other. On Instagram, what do we have there? On Instagram, the voting is somewhat different. Can't find. Here it is. 42% have voted Fortounis on Instagram, 29% Jovetić, 22% Richards. Your man of the match today. I'll start with you, Labra.
Yeah, for me, watching the game, I thought Fortounis was very good today. I thought his running was very good. I thought his assist, his playmaking was quite good. But I also thought David Carmo was very good. 0 shots, I think, on target for ARIS today. I need to look back.
Yep.
Very impressed with him today. Heze as well was fantastic in the midfield, strong positioning. Chiquinho as well. I think they really controlled the situation. But I will go with Fortounis, and I'll give the coach's grade an A. I think I would have taken a few players off a bit earlier. That's my only criticism, I would say. So after that second goal, I think I would have maybe, taken Rodinei off and gone with Kini at some point. That's the one player I'm worried because I don't think I don't think playing every 3 days is natural for Rodinei, to be honest. I think he's very, very, very sound player, has moments defensively, but the stamina is an issue at the end of games. So yeah, that's it for me.
Marshall?
I would go with Carmo too, not because he was the clearest MVP ever, but I think we are focusing too much on the purchase option price and not about his performances. we talk about the guy worthing like almost 20 million, and it's probably too much for Olympiacos, but it has been one of the best signing we've made in the winter since a lot of time, especially for a center back. And I wanted to highlight his performance today because it was very clean, like good, efficient, and it has been the case almost in every game he played for the club. So I wanted to highlight a defensive player today, and the coach grade will be A for me because the lineup was good, subs were good management of the minutes. So nothing to say on that topic.
Yeah, and me finally, I think coach's grade, agree with you both. A for me, the only slight that I have with the coach today is around Rodinei. Also, I think all of us, the entire fan base, concerned about him. We learned today from the manager that he's been struggling with a knee injury after a clash that he had, and we know that he's been playing with injections, etc., from reports that we've heard. So I think I would have liked to see Kinney perhaps come on a little bit earlier to try and give him as much rest as he can. In terms of man of the match, I want to give a shout to Heze. I think he's consistent for another game. Very good performance. Very dynamic in midfield. But as Ari would say, who was the player to put us in the best position to win the game today, I think Fortounis stands out today in terms of his creativity and edges Jovetić for my man of the match today. And gents, if there's anything else we'd like to touch on, or otherwise we can close tonight's live stream.
Nothing
No,
to say.
just important. Do not drop points the weekend. Just, I think the players may be looking ahead, but it's a shit pitch. It's a shit place. Like La Mia, we all know it. Just go there, win, and put that. We just need to be focused. We need to win. We cannot look ahead of them. That's my main message going into this weekend.
And that's the next fixture, Lamia away on Sunday. So, ladies and gents, wherever you are, thank you for joining us tonight on Gate 7 International, your number one English source for all things Olympiacos. And don't forget, like and subscribe, as we always say. Getting close to 4,000 subs on YouTube. When we do hit 4,000 subs, there will be nice giveaway happening. And don't forget, Gate 7 International merchandise will be coming soon as well. Hint, hint. Also, don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Gate7 International for more exclusive content, access to WhatsApp group, and also you can get access to merchandise tier as well. So go check that out at patreon.com/Gate7 International. That's all we've got time for today. Thanks very much to Marshall and Labros for joining us from France and from the US, Hawaii. We're Gate 7 International, by the fans, for the fans. See you next time.